All right, today I want to talk about the 5 best ways I think that you can get better at jiu-jitsu and get better at jiu-jitsu quick. Now, I have a little notepad here just so I can stay with you guys. First thing that I do, and you don't see it anymore, is note-taking. Now, obviously, with the advent of smartphones and everything, that's where most of people's retention is. They film it and they review it, and that's great, right? Back in the mid-2000s, smartphones weren't really around yet. The camera phones didn't have a lot of time that you could film. So like after class, I would bring a notepad in my bag and I would sit out in my car before I drove home and write down what I learned that night. And in doing that, you have to replay it in your head, and it helps you quite a bit. And when you take notes on stuff, writing it down forces you to remember it more, and it stimulates those neural pathways. And note-taking, I noticed back was like, 2006, 2007, I did it after every training session. I did it probably from 2006 to 2009. I noticed I was always consistently improving. I rarely had lulls. Obviously, I'd still get my butt kicked by the guys better than me, but I always progressed pretty steadily. If an area of my game was lacking, I could take notes on that particular area. Like if it's leg locks or getting caught in certain chokes, and I could take notes on, I would ask the guys what I'm doing wrong. I would take notes on that, and then I would get better. I'm not, impervious to getting caught and stuff, because some guys are so good at some things it's hard to stop, but note-taking did help me. Obviously, you don't see that a lot now. I still see some guys do it in the gym here, and I think it's great. Note-taking is one way to really help accelerate your progress. Another one is visualization. Sometimes you can't make it to the gym. Sometimes you have too many things going on, and there's just no way you can get in here and train. So I worked at a group home from 10 p.m. to 7 a.m. and a lot of times in the middle of the night, I was mad I couldn't go to class the night before, so I would just think about what I did last class, the last time I came in, and I would visualize arm bars and chokes and takedowns. And believe it or not, when I was able to go back to class, the stuff I visualized, I was finding myself in those positions. And it's no doubt because those synapses and the neural pathways in your brains are being stimulated. They're stimulated when you visualize it and when you do it. Nothing beats getting on the mat and doing something for real. And being able to visualize, takedown into this guard pass. It does work. Right? Olympic athletes talk about it all the time. Lots of visualization before their matches, and the matches go the way that they visualized it. So visualization is an underrated tool that I know actually can help anyone. All right. Step 3, a little more specific, is tape study. Right? When I got into jiu-jitsu in 2003, smartphones did not exist. Camera phones, I don't even think existed yet. If you wanted to film yourself training, you had to bring a camcorder to the gym. Those are bulky and hard to kind of set up. You need your tripod and all that. But as time goes on, I started filming myself doing judo. I started filming myself doing sparring and boxing and kickboxing. And I film myself rolling all the time. And it's good to do that because, when you're in the moment, all you see is your opponent in front of you. You might not see that, when you went to your one side, your grip was off. And sometimes doing that can help you pinpoint the mistakes you're making. And obviously, if it's if it's a match from a tournament or an opponent you had, you're going to see certain tendencies that they have. And when you see that certain tendencies that they have, you have a plan for next time you encounter it. And in seeing your own mistakes, you can realize, when I turn onto my right hip, I need to have a grip. I didn't have a grip, and that's why you got the pass. But tape study is something that anyone can do. You just got to know how to do it. You got to look for you look for the mistakes more than the successes. Obviously, if you have a successful sweep or a takedown, you want to see how you set that up. You want to see how you finished it, and study it to make sure that you keep doing it that way, because obviously it worked for you. But I find it's even better for mistakes. All right, he passed my guard when he was able to turn me onto my right hip, so I got to figure out how to stop that. Maybe play guard on my right hip more. Little things like that, but seeing it from a third-person perspective, studying tape, really, really helps. All right. Now the next one is a little bit more, the first 3 you don't necessarily have to be on the mat for, or at least, with those, you can be away from the mat and study your notes and visualize and tape study. For the 4th one is what really elevated my game to the next level was teaching, right? Because when you're teaching a move or a technique, you have to understand it to teach it. If you're teaching to a group of 10 or 20 people, if you don't have confidence in the move, it's going to come through and they're not going to do very well. So in teaching, I had to really break it down, and in breaking it down, it helps me understand it better. The better I understand the technique, the better I'm going to be at it. And in addition with teaching, what you get is reps. When I teach a move in front of class, I'm doing it 3, 5, 10 times, depending on how advanced the class is and how much they get it. But that's 5 reps I just got, 10 reps I just got. And through the course of teaching during a week, I've got 50, 60, 70 reps in all that counts. Reps are how we get better, right? And teaching offers you that. It offers you a deeper understanding of the techniques you're teaching, whether it's a takedown, a strike, you know, or jiu-jitsu. I know this video is labeled jiu-jitsu, but these kind of go across all realms of martial arts. But, you know, I'm keeping the video somewhat specific on jiu-jitsu. But yeah, teaching really, it can just make you a lot better. And a lot of guys have talked about when they started teaching that it made them significantly better, and I know it's helped me. I consider myself a very technical and detailed teacher, and despite being 6'6" and like 270 pounds right now, I consider myself a technical practitioner on the ground. I really don't fight big and use my size as much as I could, and I could use it a lot more. But teaching, without a doubt, elevates your game to another level. Now the last one is very specific to training, but if you want to have success, and you want to have success quickly in jiu-jitsu, area mastery. And what I mean by area mastery is, all right, pick a move and drill the shit out of it. And then go into training and tap everyone with it. You know, you see it a lot with footlocks. You know, footlockers, they just, you know, they're a blue belt in jiu-jitsu, but their footlock game is black belt level. And they come in and they black belt it and they tap out everyone. I've had that happen to me. A lot of people have had it happen to them, right? Now, that guy's game is lacking, but one aspect is at an elite level. And what you do is you bring everything up around that. You try to take a well-rounded approach where I'm going to get my arm bars good, my choke's good, and my sweep's good, my pass is good. You know, you build them all up over time. You know, but you get good at one submission, right? A Kimura, a guillotine, and you have that already here, and then you bring everything else up. There's a lot of schools of thought about that. But area mastery, you know, my first couple of years in jiu-jitsu, I had really good bent arm locks, key locks, Kimuras, and really good triangles. Even as like a new white belt, I could catch black belts in those techniques if I could put them in the positions to get those techniques. Now, the guys I trained with were a lot better than me and a lot smarter than me. And after I would catch them, but after catching them, they were smart and they caught on to it. And I had less success in the future catching them. I could still catch a couple of guys here and there. And that's why you have to have a well-rounded game. But being, you know, having area mastery in Kimuras and triangles, specifically in key locks as well, I was catching guys that were a lot higher ranked than me and that overall were a lot better. I was just able to put them in those positions. Obviously, at the end of the day, I recommend everyone's game is solid everywhere. You're always going to be better at certain moves than others. I don't really have a good omoplata even now. I don't really have a great guillotine. You know, I can pull those moves out and use them, and I do sometimes just to build them up. But, you know, my game has a slight few techniques that I'm really, really good at. Right? I'm still really good at Kimuras. I'm still really good at triangles, but I brought up everything else around it. So now that it makes me a lot better on the ground. But if you want to get good quick, pick a couple of moves and master them, right? So I hope these 5 tips I gave you, you can find use to them and they can elevate your jiu-jitsu game and your martial arts game overall.